Coming up, a mom who took extreme measures to ensure her children's safety. She built a toxic-free home. That story and more coming up on The Whitney Reynolds Show.
The Whitney Reynolds Show is supported by the Illinois chapter of the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, whose mission is to save lives and bring hope to those affected by suicide. Children's Learning Place, excellence in early childhood education since 1998. And the Auto Barn Mazda of Evanston and Chicago. The Auto Barn Mazda, where driving matters. Special thanks to Kevin Kelly with Jameson Sotheby's International Realty. Art of Modern Dentistry. Deluxe Cleaning Services. Josh Moulton Fine Art. Evolve Her. Chicago Andrea Creative. And Mazda.
Welcome to the Whitney Reynolds Show. Today we're discussing health and wellness and how you could get your miracle turnaround by cleaning out your cabinets and your closets. We're talking toxic-free living. You're watching The Whitney Reynolds Show. Dr. Vesna Skull has held and attended many seminars on today's topic and has even helped her patients turn their life around by investigating toxins. Her research is something that must be heard. Let's welcome her out. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Whitney.
You know, the topic toxins can come off really overwhelming because you look around and you're like, uh-oh, uh-oh, uh-oh. I mean, where do we even start with this?
Well, I think we start by realizing that we are surrounded and that, in fact, since World War II, CDC has registered 87,000 plus new chemicals that are surrounding us in our food, in the water that we drink, in the air that we breathe, in clothing that we wear, in chairs and
I'm starting to get a little nervous.
But you know, it is coming to everyone's awareness that we have to be conscious and actually shop in a more conscious way and look at alternatives which do exist.
So what do we do about this? Because that's why, like, when I look at this as a whole, I'm like, oh my goodness, the stuff we wear, what we're sitting on, what we drink, what we eat, where do we even start?
Well, I think we start by minimizing, you know, looking at starting from entry into one's home. You look at some cultures, shoes are off.
Oh.
You're not bringing in external dust.
I'm in trouble.
And many people are, but my home has only two rules: shoes off and no smoking. Dust is a carrier for many toxins that are off-gassed from all of these horrible chemicals that surround us that are not necessarily tightly bound to plastics or to these, to everything literally that we've talked about. So it latches onto dust particles. And, you know, being obsessive about cleaning is really quite good.
You actually just got me thinking the next point is cleaners.
Right.
You know, there's all sorts of cleaners. Are they safe? Or should we be looking at specialized cleaners?
Majority of them are probably not safe. You know, when you look at the ingredients of anything, honestly, from food to personal care products to cleaning agents, if there is a paragraph of ingredients, most of which are words that you can't pronounce, put it back. So getting back to the old-fashioned water, vinegar, soda, salt for abrasives is really literally all you need. And maybe some essential oils.
And you're being serious with that, because that's what I hear, and I'm like, okay, well, I have all those things in my cabinets,
and you can just put them to good use. Now, if you are using commercial cleaners, clear and odorless.
You're taking me to my next point. Oils and perfumes. Like, do you wear only oils, or do you spray the perfume on?
Well, I must admit guilt to several of my favorites, right?
I know.
But I'm really gravitating more and more to essential oils, and they're beautiful, healing, and safe. But and there are actually some perfumes that are made with them.
Well, in case our viewers are feeling extremely overwhelmed, where can they find out more about some of these, like either tricks they can do with stuff around their house, or ways just to cut down on some simple things? Because it feels a little overwhelming. Where can people go?
EWG.org,
Okay.
environmentalworkinggroup.org, the great non-for-profit that kind of vets everything, decides which are the vegetables and fruits that we may want to go out and buy, non-organic versus organic. There's a wonderful known Dirty Dozen and Clean 15 that comes out every year because the crops are different depending on what they're spraying them with each year. There with some variability. You know, rule of thumb is berries and thin-skinned fruits and vegetable always buy organic, because you will have consumed a dozen different pesticides and chemicals in one serving if you don't. And then things like bananas and avocados and things that you peel with thicker skins are probably okay, even if conventionally grown.
And this is on the website. All
And
this is there.
They also vet the cleaning products, the personal care products, and even some materials that are in our furniture, flooring, building materials, and such.
Well, thank you so much for coming on and informing our viewers on so much.
You're most welcome, Whitney. Thank you for having me.
Our next guest is a mom on a mission. After her kids were extremely sick and even in the hospital with a big question mark to why, she did her own investigating. After connecting some major dots, she built a brand new toxic-free home. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So I want to, first of all, say that you built a house literally ground up, toxic-free.
Yes.
Now I want to peel the layer back
Okay.
and tell us why you did.
Well, one of the reasons why we did was before we lived in this house, we lived in a house that was fairly old, probably built in the 30s. And my children were both having problems with their breathing and were sick a lot. And I started thinking, what's behind the walls? What's in this house?
And it wasn't even just sick. It was like hospitalized
Hospital sick,
for breathing issues. And
exactly.
what got you to that point to connect the dots of like, I wasn't sick. I didn't have asthma. I didn't have this. What's going on with my kids?
When my daughter was born, she's the older one. She didn't really have that many illnesses, just, the occasional sniffle here and there. So we really didn't worry about anything. And then my son was born 17 months later. And after he was home for 3 weeks, he had to go back into the hospital because he got a lung virus, RSV it's called. And after he was in the hospital for about 4 weeks, he came home and he had to use a nebulizer.
Did you say 4 weeks in the hospital?
4 weeks in the hospital.
I can't, as a new mom myself, I can't imagine having your newborn be admitted for a month. I mean,
he was home for 3 weeks and then gone for 4 weeks, so
and
it was really hard.
That probably really left you scratching your head with like, what is going on?
Right. And the way that they explained it at the time with my son, which made sense, was RSV looks like just a simple cold for me and you and my daughter, who was 17 months old at the time. So it wasn't anything out of the ordinary, but because it caught him at the time when he was low on immunity, it really got him sick. And a lot of kids got really sick that year. So again, we didn't really connect it with the house at that time because we just thought, oh, okay, just an illness. And he got over it and we were just really relieved. But he did have to use a nebulizer every time he got a cold because he would have trouble breathing and clearing everything out of his lungs.
So what got you thinking inside the walls? Because I feel like I would not go there for a long time. Like that would probably be one of the shorter things on my list until we started doing this show.
Right.
But what got you there?
When my daughter was 2 years old, around 2, maybe a little older than 2.5, she got sick and she was starting to have breathing problems. And I thought, wait a second, she didn't have the lung virus. So it wasn't something that was easily explained, like when my son needed the nebulizer. So when my daughter needed the nebulizer, I was like, wait, what's causing her to be sick? She doesn't have an infection. She never had a history. And so we started thinking, what is the common factor for both of these kids? Yeah, he might be using the nebulizer because he was sick, but why does he continue to need it? Right?
Yeah.
So we started thinking, how old is this house? what do we have? I think we did a kitchen remodel and we found that there were 2 ceilings, 4 floors, and just a crazy amount of construction. And then we realized you just don't know what's in your house when you move in. You have no
Right.
idea what's behind the walls.
You really don't until
Mhm.
you pry them open.
Exactly.
And most people don't, or if
Mhm.
they do, you know, they find what they don't want to see.
Exactly. And that's what happened with us.
So you discover this, you find out it's probably the toxins that are in the home. And most people would say, okay, let's build a new house, or let's buy a new house.
Mhm.
But you decided to build a house that is like as
Super
toxic
healthy,
free
yeah.
as you can be
Mhm.
is. And I want you to explain what that means, because this is not, I mean, folks, this is not normal. This is amazing. So tell us about your home.
So our home, when we constructed it, we were working with an architect and a builder, and they both decided that we should have a very energy efficient home. But our builder took it one step up, and he was working with an organization called Healthy Child, Healthy World, who wanted to start a healthy home initiative where they certify houses to be healthy and to make sure that they're toxic free. So he did a lot of the research on all of the materials that go into a home. For example, our drywall. Not only is it drywall, but it absorbs toxins out of the air and breaks it down into components that are not harmful to you at all. And it'll
Your
do that for
drywall.
up to 70 years.
Drywall.
Drywall, I know.
And in our first segment, we learned that toxins are even in the air, and we
Right.
can't prevent those. You know,
Right.
it's just like, hello, there
You
they
can't,
are.
but then this
Yeah.
drywall pulls it in, breaks it
Jeez.
down, and then it's just inert.
So that's just your drywall.
That's just the
Your
drywall.
air conditioner unit is not even there. It's a passive
Right,
house.
which means that we don't have central heating or central cooling.
And we live in Chicago.
And we live in Chicago, and we
How
survive
does
the
that-
winters.
How does that work?
Yeah. Our house is super insulated. Our walls are about 18 inches thick, and it's all styrofoam, cement, and rebar. So it's actually hurricane proof. But the styrofoam insulates it really well, and all of our windows are very, very airtight.
The
temperature.
thought with the air conditioner is because more of the toxins in the air and what blows through. Is that what that was?
Well, if you think about like your central heat and your central air, there's a lot of duct work going through, and you're not sure what's going into the duct work and coming out at you. It's like forcing it out. Whereas with the ventilator that we have, because our house is so airtight, we have to have a ventilator that kind of breathes for our house, because otherwise we wouldn't be getting the normal air that people get under their doors or through the cracks in their
Okay.
windows and things like that. It's called a CERV, and it actually has filters that clean the air, and we change our filters every month
Okay.
just to make sure that
I'm feeling like a really bad girl right now. I'm like, oh, I need to get on this. There's a
Yeah.
lot of things I'm taking
Yeah.
notes on personally. The air conditioner, the walls, the
Mhm.
flooring. Did you take that into consideration?
we did. They helped us find bamboo floors, and bamboo is non-toxic. It's antimicrobial. It's very healthy for the home, and the finishes were all water-based, so there wasn't anything that was going to be toxic.
Yeah,
in
so I
there
was gonna say
either.
paint. You
Yeah.
got that covered.
Yeah, because if you think about it, when people redo their floors, you have to move out of the house because of all the chemicals they put onto the floors. It's just really hard for you to sit there and breathe in the chemicals.
Right.
But with the bamboo, I mean, throughout the whole construction process, you could walk into the house at any point and you would not even smell any chemicals.
There's some things that you can't get away from, or correct me if I'm wrong. Appliances. Like, is there a toxic-free appliance?
Well, I don't know if there's a toxic-free appliance, but we have an induction cooktop. So we're not even bringing gas into the house. We don't have any gas hookup to the house at all. Everything in our house is electric. It is wired up to go solar in case we ever decide to do that. Yeah.
You're a mom on a mission, because
Yeah. I
you
want to keep my
ran with
kids
this.
healthy.
And
you know?
so your house is one of a kind. It's called a passive house,
Mhm.
and it really is to eliminate the toxins.
Right. So after the construction was done, we had an independent third party come in and test the air quality of the house, and to make sure that there were no leftover toxins or chemicals from the construction. And we were absolutely clean. There was nothing left.
And so now it's a certified healthy home.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. And tell us about your kids. Are they healthy?
They are so healthy. My kids love to do parkour, which is a sport, and they do soccer, and my daughter plays basketball. You would never know that my son was as sick as he was looking at him today.
I love that. So much
Yeah.
hope too. Like I
Yeah.
said, a mom on a mission that
Yeah.
just changed it all around. Well,
Mhm.
thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story.
Thank you for having me.
Today's topic is one that got me looking into my own life about what toxins surround me daily. It sure got me thinking, and that's what we wanted to ask you in today's Viewer's Voice. What toxins are in your life?
So I like to use more natural products because I do have a 3-year-old daughter. I like to make sure we're clean eating, like eating clean chickens and cage-free eggs, stuff like that, along with the house products we use around the house, because I would hate for her to get into something and it's like a horrible thing for her to get into.
Get social with us. Make your voice heard. Submit your video on WhitneyReynolds.com. Eat, Travel, Rock is her show, but lately toxic-free produce has become her jam. She has applied clean eating to prep for her wedding to Bob Saget. Let's see what Kelly Rizzo had to say.
So we've been talking toxic-free living, and on the food side of things, you are what I would say a foodie and expert. I mean, your show is kind of all that combined into one, but you've changed up your habits and are focusing on clean eating.
Yeah, so it's interesting because this is not how I was a long time ago. And growing up, I kind of was lucky in the sense that I could eat whatever I wanted and get away with it. And then, growing up in the 80s and 90s, it just wasn't really a thing to focus on organic, whole foods, conscious eating, humane, like farm to table type of foods. And over the last few years, it's been something where, for a couple of reasons, mainly just to be healthier and live a healthier lifestyle, but also just the treatment of the animals, whether it's the dairy industry, the meat industry, if you can get the treatment of, let's say, the animals better, the raising, if it's more humane, then the end product's going to be better too. And then it's just better all the way around.
Well, and what does clean eating mean? Because we've been, breaking down these toxins of like what's around the house, what's in your house, all this kind of like even on your clothes. But in food, what are some of like the toxins, or what would you try to avoid?
Well, obviously with produce and vegetables, and this has been known for a while, like the pesticides. And when you get into organic produce and organic foods, it removes the pesticides, but it also removes, you don't think a lot about, like the genetic modification in vegetables as much or in produce as much, but there's that too. And then obviously the pesticides and just getting stuff that's grown on an actual farm versus these like production facilities and, having stuff that's local. Granted, we live in Chicago, so maybe we're not going to get local tomatoes in the winter. They have to come from somewhere. But for the most part, if you go to a farmer's market and you're getting stuff that's grown locally, grown by actual farmers, that it's going to be treated better, it's going to be healthier, and the better it's grown, the better it is to put in your body.
So with Eat, Travel, Rock, how do you avoid, because you do this like restaurant scene, how do you like pick or avoid some of these issues of toxins in the food, or do you still just like feature it? How does that work?
Well, it's become a challenge to have a food show where now, I used to eat anything and everything. And now when I go to interview a chef or I'm going to a restaurant and I have to say like, look, I'm sorry, like just make sure that when you're sending out some dishes, I don't eat bacon, I don't eat this, I don't eat that. I only eat, if you want to bring out a shrimp dish, great. If you want to bring out fish, great. But it makes it more challenging. But I feel in the end, I could cheat if I wanted. And, let's say I was brought in to like judge a food show or something. And they're like, oh, this is, here's this great opportunity, but you're going to have to eat this lamb. Like, I just won't do it now. And I feel like even if I'm losing some things from it, whether it's content for my show or opportunities on other shows, it's still worth it for me to kind of stay true now to what I believe in and to kind of stay in line with what I've been preaching. People wouldn't give me a lot of credibility if all of a sudden I went back on my word and went back on the things that I've already said are very important to me.
Yeah, and sometimes like when we were working on the show, it was kind of like an overwhelming feeling at times because so many toxins surround you in every aspect. But I love how you said you kind of just like got into it over time, and now this has become your true self. And I'd be remiss if I didn't ask, you have a wedding coming up. Clean eating definitely helps the bride look good, right?
It does. And it's something where I think my natural tendencies are to procrastinate. So I'm sure I will get healthier even as, the date draws nearer.
Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Whitney. I appreciate it.
Next up, we have a man here to explain why what we wear could be putting us in some major danger. Let's welcome him out. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So I have been thinking all day about all these things I'm doing wrong, toxic-wise, and you brought this whole new light to what we wear.
Yes.
I honestly have never thought about that before. What kind of toxins are trapped inside of our clothes?
Well, it really depends upon where you're getting your cleaning done. So in our industry, in the dry cleaning industry, there is really two main chemicals that dry cleaners are using. The biggest, most widely used one is called perchloroethylene, which it's referred to as PERC. And PERC is the most widely used dry cleaning chemical out there. And unfortunately, our EPA has labeled it a likely carcinogen.
So for everyone out there like me that doesn't understand what that word means, what does that mean?
Okay, so that just basically means that the dry cleaning chemical has been linked to cancer. The most widely used dry cleaning chemical out there has been linked to cancer.
Now this just took it a new level of scary.
Yeah, and this is a chemical that has been banned in California. Minneapolis is now PERC-free. I believe New Jersey, Philadelphia. So there's all parts of this country that have banned PERC.
Oh
but
my goodness.
where we are, it's still perfectly legal and still widely
And it
used.
sounds like a lot of other places too,
Yeah.
you can still have it. And I had no idea this is in there. Why would people still be using this? Is it more expensive to go the green route?
Yeah. Well, first of all, PERC and its cousin, which is called hydrocarbon, that's the second most widely used chemical. They're both petrochemicals. That means that they come from petroleum, or the easiest way to use an analogy is it's the same stuff that they make gasoline from. So I like to say that getting your clothes clean in a petrochemical is like throwing your clothes into a bath of gasoline. They're flammable and they're both highly toxic.
Oh man.
So the reason that most dry cleaners are still using them is because they do a really good job of cleaning. That is the reality of these chemicals. PERC and hydrocarbon are both very aggressive cleaners, so they work very well, and more importantly, they work very quickly. So for dry cleaners out there, a lot of dry cleaning is based on volume and making sure that efficiency is done at a certain level so that dry cleaners can remain profitable.
Well, that's where I wanted to go is, years ago, organic, we might have not heard about it as much.
Yes.
Do you see that same trend happening with dry cleaning?
I do, yeah. I feel like we're not quite there yet from a knowledge base. Consumers in a knowledge base with food, I feel like we're there. And you see the organic and farm-to-table sections of restaurants and supermarkets growing from what they were 20 years ago to just whole sections or entire stores.
Right, and it's more expensive,
Right.
but people do it.
And people do it anyway, right? And that's because people now actually know what is going on behind the scenes.
So besides cancer, which is just like this scary word in general that it's linked to, anything else that you've seen from people using these chemicals on their stuff? Like I'm thinking time to clean out the closets or...
Yes. Well, PERC and hydrocarbon are both neurotoxins. They have been linked to skin irritations and allergies. In fact, our company has actually been endorsed by several dermatologists and allergists to their patients. If that is an issue, when they wear their clothes, some people are getting rashes and things, and they're linking it back to the dry cleaning chemicals that other cleaners are using.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, absolutely. In addition to that, maybe this is something you wouldn't notice every day, but it is an actual pollutant environmentally. So it goes into the groundwater and it goes into the air. And there have been many communities across the country that have been affected by these dry cleaning chemicals that seep into the groundwater and get into the water table.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you so much for coming on and educating us.
Of course, anytime.
Today's topic is one that as a whole can seem overwhelming, but as we discussed with today's guest, can truly improve our lives. This could be one of those moments where you take a step back and evaluate your life and then move forward with a new plan. For more information on today's show, visit whitneyreynolds.com.
Go beyond the interview with our 52-week guide of inspiration. The book goes deeper with the stories you see right here on The Whitney Reynolds Show. To order your copy for $12.95 plus shipping and handling, go to whitneyreynolds.com/store. The Whitney Reynolds Show is supported by the Illinois chapter of the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, whose mission is to save lives and bring hope to those affected by suicide. Children's Learning Place, excellence in early childhood education since 1998. And the Autobarn Mazda of Evanston and Chicago. The Autobarn Mazda, where driving matters. Special thanks to Kevin Kelly with Jameson Sotheby's International Realty. Art of Modern Dentistry. Deluxe Cleaning Services. Josh Moulton Fine Art. Evolve Her. Chicago Andrea Creative. And Mazda.